coming up, TikTok creates a dating dictionary for teens. And how about TikTok trends like Borg booze? All that and more here on Depraved and Debaucherous. Thanks for joining me. This is King of Podcasts. Welcome to the program. ddradio.live is where you find the program, and where all the past episodes of Depraved and Debaucherous, Depraved and Debaucherous can be found. I'm not going to go back and fix that. I'm just going to leave it right there. Thanks for listening in, finding the show where you do, and please pass the word along. And I put this along and put this in the description of every program, but I really mean this. If you want to send a question, comment, or a topic to yours truly to use on the show, I recommend you go ahead and reach out to me by email kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com. kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com. Making it really easy for all of you. And especially during the weeks that we're doing confessions with a sugar daddy, or confessions of a sugar daddy, I want you to go ahead and if there's anything you want our resident anonymous sugar daddy JL to go and talk about, I want you to go ahead and write into the show, and we'll take that and we will discuss whatever you have to bring on. If you have any questions about what a sugar daddy does or what they might do, I know the next episode he was wanting to do was, we were talking about expectations in terms of the delusion of what some sugar babies are asking for of a sugar daddy. That's the next thing I think was going to be brought up on the next episode when we get to that. But what we normally do is when I'm running a little bit short, there's not a whole lot they're going to talk about during the week, then I'll go ahead and call them, hey, let's get into the studio, let's do this. Because I can usually get them pretty easily. So if that's something that everybody's interested in, we'll go and do that on the next Confessions of a Sugar Daddy segment here on Depraved and Debaucherous. Now, we have the story from Tinder that apparently they have try to make things a little bit easier for online dating. So there were some terms that were included in the Tinder Year and Swipe 2022 report. So the dictionary was just part of a report they put in, but they wanted to put some terms in so that some of the people out there can go ahead and understand. So here's what they got. They explain here that predominantly young singles who are coining new phrases and terms loosely defining their relationship status are going viral on social media and being shared among their friend groups. And so there are new additions to what's called a dating dictionary. Let's go through some of the terms they've already come up with. One is called cushioning, referring to keeping several backup relationships to soften the blow if your main one doesn't last. What? Cushioning. That is bad. That is really bad. If you feel like we need to really go to that level, and that people are so caught up that if they do somehow get into a breakup, that they can't handle the fact that they're going to have some heartache and they're going to be hurting from it. And they're not going to take some time to, grieve the relationship in order to bounce back up. So instead, you're just going to put it behind you and you're going to basically neglect what was all about, because the cushioning says you always have a backup plan. You always have several backup relationships. Well, that's really more effective for a hookup relationship, a hookup culture, not for dating. So and I think people need to understand that part. Next is, we already know situationship. That's the new word for fuck buddies. The sticky in-between status between when and someone is more than a hookup, but not quite a couple. Yeah, friends with benefits. That's exactly what it is. Next, date view. That describes when a date feels more like an interview. And I know that we're going to go into more depth in one of the mini episodes here on Depraved and Debaucherous. I know I put that down as the fact that more guys don't want to be interviewed. Like they feel like it's a job interview when they go on a date. I know I felt that way as well. Like it's one thing for having to deal about questions that you don't really care to answer because you feel like, well, this is just a questionnaire. We're not going to learn anything out of this. I always felt that the kind of 20 questions thing was always a stalling tactic. But that's what it is. And if you don't know, if you've never heard of the game 20 questions, is that you try to find the answer to something that person's trying not to tell you about, but you get 20 questions to find out what it is. And that's what it is. Other terms include kitten fishing, referring to tweaking or embellishing certain aspects of your life, or appears to make someone more appealing on dating apps. Unlike catfishing, which is pretending to be someone else entirely. Then there's Riz. Riz is a shorthand for charisma. If you have allure, you're engaging, you're basically irresistible. That's the idea of this in this dating dictionary. Now, among other things they said in this year in swipe report, which I wanted to just bring up and see if we could kind of point out and talk about. The year in swipe report explains that a new generation of daters are now done with wasting their time. So with Tinder, they saw almost a 50% increase in members adding the new relationship intention, which is situationship. 1 in 10 surveyed young singles said they prefer situationships as a way to develop a relationship with less pressure. Well, listen, if you're going to call it that without friends with benefits, and you want to call it situationship, because of the idea that it's just the term makes everything sound a little bit better. It's the same thing where sugar daddy is a term to make, prostitution or escorting sound a little bit better. Because that's what it is. As JL's reported here on the program, he believes it is. And I don't disagree with him when it comes to that. I mean, I think some people don't want to make it feel like that. I get that part. There's a prudeness, or there's a real point of wanting to be modest and conservative and not show, if a woman is becoming a little more like a whore and doing as such. And then one of the things that people are doing a lot are trying to convert situationships into real relationships. That doesn't work. And for everyone that needs to understand that, I know because I had enough friends with benefits that I would have loved to have converted into something more concrete. But what you really need to do is you constantly need to go and remind yourself, what is it that about them that didn't make you start it as a relationship in the first place? And I know where my end was on some of these. Part of it was because I just thought that I just wanted to spend time with the women on the part that I wanted to enjoy the most, which was sex or some kind of companionship. Maybe go out for dinner, but there was no real strings attached. Because I didn't think upon talking to some of these women, that there would be much to that. The other reason for a situationship, for the most part to me, was because of the workload that woman has or the responsibilities that she has. Much like kids. Single moms can definitely benefit from situationships, and there's quite a few that are. That's the idea of this as well. But so there's a thing where on TikTok, there are men and women are on here talking about complaining they struggle to transition out of a situationship into a full-blown relationship, and it leaves them feeling confused and in limbo. They also learned that dinner dates are done. And we talked about that on the program too, that the dinner date idea is not something people want to do. That, remember we had infladating. Remember we heard that? There was a mini episode I did about that. And they talked about, let's just find something that's just really, in the inflation period, let's just find something really cheap and easy to do. And so suggestions have included festivals and gigs, showing singles are meeting more than just a dinner and drinks these days. They want something less traditional, more authentic, sometimes sober, ways to get to know one another with camping, barbecues, street food, all making it to the top 10 trending global interests on Tinder. Sober dates was something really popular. 25% of young singles say they drink less on dates compared with last year. 72% of members said on their Tinder profiles they don't drink or only drink occasionally. And we talked about this too, that for whatever reason, a lot of Gen Zers are not drinking. They don't want to party like the predecessors. So the idea of going out, putting a wristband on, getting $20 for all you could drink, ball drinks, or whatever, and getting sloshed, that doesn't sound fun anymore. And, the nightclubs are different anyway. You're not dancing there anymore. Now you're just standing around. It's all different. Red flags when you're dating. Singles now say that 2/3 of them surveyed say they're more confident they can identify a red flag when dating. And there are other dating trends that have emerged, including revenge travel, with many of Tinder users increasingly using the passport feature to enable them to peruse singles outside of their local area. And strong stances on social issues were also on the rise. 75% of users saying it could make or break a match. These are the things they're talking about here. And, it doesn't sound like they're wrong about all these things. It's a curious factor that we're going through. A fact that dictionary, that we need to have all these things here into consideration. Because that's where we are. At this moment, the dating apps have their own kind of run, which sucks. It's all changed to something else that I don't even know what it is anymore. That's unfortunate. But the kids now, they don't want to do what we did. I think they just want to change things altogether. They just want to get rid of it. I don't know. Okay, if that's what they want. And there have been a number of stories that have talked about this. Because we also know that Business Insider also talked about this as well. The dating revolution for Gen Z. Adopting an old-fashioned solution for the humiliation and hassle of dating apps. There's new numbers out there. A survey from the Survey Center on American Life. They talked about now, when it comes to some dating, there was little for people to be connected by except a shared geography or perhaps a mutual acquaintance. That American marriages are full of people who started dating when they were complete strangers. These days, 46% of married Americans reported not knowing their spouse before they started dating. But now the young adults today, young women are finding romance in their friend groups. 43% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 said they were in a relationship with someone that was first a friend, and half of women are in that same range. Older couples, 53% said that their significant other was a complete stranger to them before they got together. So the older people dating, 30s, 40s, they're meeting strangers. Gen Z wants to meet people within their own circles, for whatever reason. Another thing they're trying to say is that the friend zone is starting to be something that is worth holding on to. I disagree with this wholeheartedly and vehemently, but here's what they're saying. There was a survey of college students by researchers at the University of Victoria in Canada. 68% of people were friends with their partner before starting a romantic relationship. Friend zone. The friend zone was the pipeline into the relationship. I never thought that was a good idea. It's like you take friends if you're attracted to them and you're not afraid to get pulled that in. But here's what they talk about when it comes to this. It represents the most serious repudiation of the online dating culture to date, challenging the idea that young people ignore prospective partners who are stuck in the friend zone. And for many women, it makes a lot of sense. And the reason that younger people dating, younger singles, are drawn to friends more than strangers, number one, it's more fun. Number two, trusting friends is easier than being sure of strangers. And mutual friends, number three, provide greater accountability. That's what they're thinking here. They're also talking about how the stigmas of online dating have also changed as well. I took a story from the Quinnipiac Chronicle, and they talked about this, and they said that 30% of adults have used a dating app in the United States at some point, more among college students. A 2021 study from the University of South Carolina found that more than 93% of surveyed students use Tinder. And that these days, that dating apps still evoke the idea of hookups, affairs, and only to the desperate and lonely. I mean, with Tinder itself, remember, look at the terms they were using anyway that they brought up are now considered. When it comes to kitten fishing, when it comes to situationships, this is all short-term or just friends with benefits type relationships. It's nothing new. Nothing about long-term relationships. It's not anything that anybody's thinking about, because people don't care. That's tragic. Very much so. I got one more story to go and give you before we wrap things up tonight, and that is Borg booze. So this is coming out of University of Massachusetts. A story that came out where dozens of students were in the hospital over a dangerous Borg TikTok booze trend. So keep an eye on this, okay? There was a binge drinking trend in University of Massachusetts over the weekend, as I record, involving blackout rage gallons dubbed Borgs. So yeah, taking like a milk gallon, a milk jug, and in the jug, it's alcohol, electrolytes, flavoring and water. So get this. It's being consumed by college-age users because they say with the Borg mixture, it keeps you hydrated as you binge drink. So hydrates you at the same time as binge drinking. Now, I learned about this and understand the idea of the hydration part because they always talk about, for the longest time, you want to keep a hangover from happening, drink water before you drink. They've always said that. But what I know now is on my diet, okay, I've been trying to then diet down and lose a lot of weight. And I've been doing that. And there was one day I remember I had to go to the doctor next day because I was getting my weight checked out. I've been doing it every month for the last 6 months now. I remember all I had to do was just take 3 shots of green tea. And that is what? Sweet and sour mix, Jameson whiskey, and there's something else in it. I forget what it was. But all I know is that after I took those 3 shots, and I had food or the sports bar, whatever it was, 5 pounds added on to my weight. Because those shots just sucked up all the water that I had. They were just retained water on me because I was dehydrated, I guess. So the thing is, they're trying to use this idea. Borg is, again, blackout rage gallons. Oh, boy. When I've heard some things, the idea is the electrolytes and the water to keep you hydrated at the same time and not before. Like, if you're going to do that, like, why don't you just go and grab a jug of Gatorade and chug that down before you drink? But they don't want to do that because they don't want to go and to stop using the drink. So, yeah. What happened was there was a St. Patrick's Day celebration called the Blarney Blowout at UMass. And they did that. Plastic gallon jugs, milk jugs they took and just, or, whatever it is. Orange juice sometimes have those jugs. 28 ambulances called as students guzzled gallons of alcohol mixtures. And they're becoming popular on TikTok. So with the water and electrolytes of the drink to help slow down, it slows down alcohol consumption and reduces hangovers, which is with the size of the container, encourages dangerous binge drinking. Some recipes say you'd put in a 1/5 of alcohol. Hold on. A 1/5? So if anybody doesn't know, like I now have to learn it from somebody else that's really interested in it. A 1/5 is like, okay, there's the airplane size bottles, and then there's a bottle that's like, about the size of your hand. The 750 milliliter, the 1/5, that's a bigger bottle. That's the one underneath the liter. So they say put that in this gallon container. Wow. Oh, hold on. Let me get this right here. What they're saying is 5-to-1. So a 1/5 of that gallon should be alcohol. A 1/5. Now, and I don't know what they say about what you add in terms of the electrolytes and water, how much goes into that. I guess that's what it is. So the electrolytes and the water that they're not even doing, I mean, I guess they're doing flavoring, right? Is that the one I read? There is flavoring. Okay. I don't know what the flavoring is. So yeah, you create flavoring in there. You're not adding an extra mix, is what they're saying. So you're not adding orange juice, like you're not adding, the chaser. Nothing to mix along that you would normally chase with, right? Club soda, tonic. They're not adding orange juice. They're not adding 7-Up. They're not adding ginger ale. None of that. So that's what they got. That is nuts. And I'll look at what they have. And also they did a thing with all these jugs where they decorated the jugs and all. They put names on it or whatever. Looks like a fun time, but man, that is a lot of drink. Now look, I can understand if you buy the gallon like that and you don't chug the whole thing. Like seriously, if you're going to do a jug like that, that's like among like 2 or 3 people right there you take. Not one-on-one. That is wild. I don't even think I can think, and remember this, a fifth is equal to 16 drinks. Or 16 shots. That's a lot. It's alcohol poisoning, basically. If you look at it from my end, that's what it looks like. That's just bad. So yeah, that's what we got. That's a crazy thing going on right there. Borg drinking. I'm going to leave it right there. That's the show for tonight. Thanks for listening in. Fun of the shows you always do. Borg. Blackout rage drinks. Talk about something that's depraved and debaucherous.